What we're saying is that on a very real and practical level, financial freedom can be understood as being able to maintain your living standards, the cost of your current living standards, in a way where your investments themselves are generating the income to supplement that without you actually having to work. So a lot of the time we make money by exchanging our time as jobs when we work for employers and all that kind of thing.
Hello, and welcome to the Great Return podcast, where we have conversations rooted in wealth creation and African development for and by people of African heritage, both at home and abroad. I am Lordy Emen, your host, and our mission at TGR Africa is to contribute to making people of Black heritage and the African continent prosperous through business and investments. Today, we are discussing how diasporans can achieve financial freedom in Africa. And with us for that conversation is Ajiwe Chanayere, AG from TGR Africa. Welcome, AG.
It's nice to be here again.
Yes, indeed. So in terms of financial freedom for us, what we hear a lot about people talking about financial freedom. What is financial freedom from a TGR standpoint?
Yeah, so you're right. It's almost a buzzword, financial freedom. But at TG Africa, for us, financial freedom is definitely not saying that you can come and do business and invest in Africa and just make an abundance of money. So we are not speaking about financial freedom from the perspective of you just have an abundance of money and whatever. What we're saying is that on a very real and practical level, financial freedom can be understood as being able to maintain your living standards, the cost of your current living standards in a way where your investments themselves are generating the income to supplement that without you actually having to work. So a lot of the time we make money by exchanging our time as jobs when we work for employers and all that kind of thing. So the idea is that financial freedom is building an investment portfolio that can generate the income to cover your living expenses. At the minimum level is whatever your current living standards are, and then whatever your ideal is. And anywhere in between is what we mean by financial freedom.
Yeah. Because I suppose money can be a thing where how much is enough. But on a realistic level, you can actually plan ahead in such a way that you can still have an ideal standard of living in your own terms, because it's all down to your own resources and what you can do with it, isn't it? So how you can plan ahead such that what you can use today to make sure that tomorrow life becomes the way that you wish it to be, or to at least attain up to that level to some extent, isn't it? Now, can anyone achieve this financial freedom we are talking about, or is it only accessible to some of us?
Yeah, so one thing that even me myself, as I begin to think about building a portfolio and thinking about the future and financial freedom and wealth creation, all these kind of things, the positive thing that we can all be aware of is it's about following principles. Building wealth has nothing to do with where you start from. It's really about the principles you follow. If you see someone who is wealthy and they have achieved financial freedom, it's not by accident. It's a process they decided to follow. So it's accessible to all of us, especially us diasporans within a context of Africa. So it's more a choice that we have to make, whether we are willing to follow the principles and go along the process that it takes to to achieve financial freedom for ourselves.
Yeah. So we can all build it to an extent that is good for us. I suppose everybody's financial freedom will be different and unique.
Yeah. So there's a subjective component. That's what I meant by, at the minimum level, what we're saying is, currently you are living a living standard.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to build an investment portfolio that can cover that living standard without you going to 9 to 5? That's at the
For
basic
starters,
level.
yeah.
But when we say ideal life, that's a very subjective concept. Someone might just want to live in a hut in some village somewhere. It doesn't matter. The main thing is that your investment portfolio is supplementing a significant amount of the cost of living the lifestyle you want. It's not you actually having to exchange your labor and time to be able to maintain your current existing living standards.
Yeah.
So then, yes, that's where the freedom aspect comes in, because you're not constrained to a job to maintain. You can actually decide to work for the sake of you want to work, all of that kind of thing. That's the freedom aspect, because your living standards is not dependent on income coming from any form of employment.
So now I want us to look at whether we diasporans have a wealth mindset. When we observe our diaspora community and our behavior and attitude towards money and finance, do us diasporans have a wealth mindset, do you think?
No, I don't think. Generally, as Black people, African people as a whole, I don't think we have a culture where we ingrain a wealth mindset and into ourselves. I mean, particularly if we focus on the diaspora community and we look at our economic behavior living in the Western world, it's very clear that we have misconstrued materialism for wealth. What I mean by that is, it's almost a known thing that they always say, Black people, we wear our wealth on ourselves. If you look at the US, for example, African Americans are one of the biggest consumers. Like, their purchasing power is in the billions.
Yeah.
But if you look at their asset ownership, it's extremely small.
Yeah.
And when you look at money circulation within the African community compared to how quickly it leaves other communities, within the African American community, money doesn't stay very long.
No.
You see, so we have gotten into a way of thinking that we think wealth is what you like, material things. We have been seduced into associating wealth with materialism, but that is a trick, because at the end of the day, you are the one who is making someone else rich by you being a consumer. So what we do have is a consumer mindset. What we do have is very much a job seeker mindset. Our understanding of wealth, I don't think we even identify with the idea that we can be wealthy. So for most of us, I think the message is try and go to school, get a good degree, try and get a good job, climb the ladder and earn some good money. But you thinking about becoming rich or wealthy, that's, maybe a fantasy. And then on a cultural level, if you look at hip hop culture and all of that, they speak a lot about riches, wealth, but it's very much associated with having cars, clothes, jewelry, all materialistic things, which is not wealth. So I don't think as diasporans
We have.
We have a
I think for me, even from my African roots, I'll agree with you. We as Black people, we as Africans, wealth per se, we think about it. We think that's what we're doing, but we are not. We are more, maybe the word riches is maybe better description of what we are craving, what we are chasing, not craving, chasing. But part of it, I think, comes from just when you start life, it's quite hard going. And so even the normal things that you just need to have a reasonable standard of life becomes your main focus. Is trying to achieve, to be able to, even get a car that you can be ferrying yourself to and from work, getting a decent place to live. These things become like a real target that you're pushing for. And I think because of that, it stays with you. So every time your focus in trying to get money or trying to make money is because you need A, B, C, X, Y, Z. And you never have a break to sort of pull yourself back and then think more longer term than now, so that you can maybe change behavior. You're just still going with the same mindset that you started with, which was about, I think it's a fight for survival, basically.
Yes,
and It just stays with us. And I believe maybe even our African American brothers and sisters is the same thing. It's a real fight for survival, fight for just normal access to normal things that makes life, comfortable and meaningful. And we don't, and maybe that conversation of real wealth creation, which you have to deliberately do by reducing your consumerism behavior, is not something that we do a lot of. So we don't just even get there. What factors would we say have impeded us in adopting and developing such a mindset, that is the wealth mindset? I suppose what I've just spoken about is one of the factors.
Yeah,
but
definitely. I mean, one thing I highlighted as well was culturally. If you look at African Americans, if you look at the Western world and the dominant music, like hip hop is a whole lifestyle as well. It's not just the music.
Yeah.
And I think one of the factors that holds us back it is really our actual culture in the West. Is, I think, like you were saying, if you follow the trajectory, your ethnic minorities, everyone tells you at the bottom of the pyramid. You see white people and they are living in castles, all of that. I think when you don't grow up with money or you grow up privileged, it's easy to start fantasizing about like wealth and like riches. But a lot of the time, people are fantasizing about the materialistic stuff. They don't know that the wealthy person they admire, they have structured their portfolio in a way where all that they have is being paid by their investments. It's not them stretching out their limb to take a mortgage just to be able to afford a nice house. We don't realize that wealthy people use their assets to pay off their lifestyles. But with a consumer mindset, we pay for our lifestyles with our money, not our investments.
Yeah.
So in hip hop culture, it's always seen as like an aspirational culture. But a lot of the time, the aspiration is to gain materialistic things. So what that has created is that it's created a whole culture where people want to showcase what they have because they think what they display on themselves is wealth. So I think that's the emergence of hip hop culture and its heavy emphasis on materialism is one component. If you look at the global diaspora, I also just think that a lot of us in our households, like we spoke about, we're raised with a job seeker mindset. Your parents in general are trying to get you to get a good job one day so that you can be okay.
Yeah.
And the conversation never goes beyond that. Like I said, we don't even associate ourselves. We don't identify with the concept that I can be wealthy. It's not something that's, as a people, we identify with easily. And I also think, even within a religious context, you see, like, there are phrases like, it will be harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than a camel to fit in. I don't know, I can't remember. You know that whole quote. But I mean, all of that's misconstrued. So a lot of people from religious standpoint think that there's a negativity associated with wealth. So that again has made us feel like all rich people must be evil and doing bad things. But we don't realize that it's a double-edged sword, because the Bible itself tells you, there's lots of passages about the fact that actually, if you follow the path, you're supposed to be prosperous. It's actually, poverty is a sign that you're not following the thing, because there's no morality in poverty, you see. So I think there's that religious aspect as well that has made it so that we have an uncomfortable relationship with wealth and money in general. So those are some of the things that I notice.
I mean, it's a difficult one, because realistically, looking at the world as we see it today is gone a certain way. It could have gone a different way. And I think, especially from the African context, I believe it has actually gone a more materialistic way compared to what the indigenous African lived. Because I remember when I lived in the village, I always, now at this age, I think about it and I find it interesting, because in my village, there wasn't really, like, you didn't necessarily own land. And you see, families have, there's communal land, and people have rights to use it to grow stuff and even build a house. So you see, one family, they can easily expand, while some of them will move and build a bit of place for themselves. But there was, like, the caretaker of land, who was, like, I suppose, next to the chief. But there was, in our village, they call it, like, it's like a caretaker of land, and people can use as much of the village land by, discussion, and grow their stuff that they need. So the idea of owning so much, some people owning so much, some people owning very little, I think it's a little bit foreign to us now. I mean, before, we this is how we lived. So that whole ideology from that period into the modern times, I think, in a way, that alone has probably put us back, because we didn't start with that kind of mindset of ownership, of, like, British had its monarchy that had so much, and it had its aristocrats who owned so much. I think when I look back to the village, we didn't really have it looking like that. So that alone, I feel, also plays a role, where now we have to shift from the way we think. And then that, with some levels of poverty, clamoring for just necessities in life, altogether, now we do need to start talking more about wealth creation and building those habits that would take us into wealth creation, as opposed to just materialism.
Yeah. And I think that distinction has to be drawn, is wealth and materialism are not
two
the
different
same
things.
thing.
Exactly.
So a lot of the time, I mean, there are different motivations for wanting to be wealthy that causes a person to want to build wealth. So wealth isn't, there are different reasons why someone wants to be wealthy. Wealth creation might be about retirement planning for someone. Wealth creation might be, like we said, about financial freedom.
Yeah.
Wealth creation might just be about legacy and generational wealth building. So the motivations behind wealth creation are vast, but the main thing is that we are not talking about consumerism and materialistic.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, a lot of people want to be wealthy because they are just extreme consumers and are very much materialistic.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so if you really, a lot of people think they want to be wealthy, but unfortunately, actually, the mindset of a consumer and someone who's highly materialistic is directly opposed to the principles you're supposed to follow.
Yeah.
To build wealth.
To build wealth.
So a lot of the time, this is why it then gets reinforced as if wealth creation, financial freedom, all these things are abstract concepts that is only accessible to the few. When really and truly is because we don't have the right mindset towards wealth, and we also misconstrue it for consumerism and having the ability to just keep perpetually consuming.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think we've looked at some of these already, but why is it important anyway that we develop such a mindset, like a wealth mindset? Why is it important?
I mean, first of all, this episode's about building financial freedom. I mean, the key is the freedom. You just highlighted how we used to live. What you were highlighting is we didn't practice capitalism.
No.
We lived in egalitarian society, so we didn't even have a concept of private property, which is one of the tenets of a capitalist structure.
Yeah.
So, but we live in a modern world, and in our modern world, you have to purchase your freedom, and money is actually important because money gives you access to what you need to do what you want. So, finance and freedom have become connected.
Yeah.
So on the personal level, me personally, my freedom is very important to me. And at the basic level, I don't want to be in a situation in my life where I'm dependent on any entity or individual.
Yeah.
So freedom is itself an asset, but it only comes a lot of the time through being in a financial position where you are free.
Yeah.
What freedom means to you can be different, but money does allow you to become more free. Secondly, we should definitely be thinking about leveraging Africa to build wealth and achieve financial freedom because the opportunity is there. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very difficult to do this now in the West because, you know, the West is so mature. The economies are well developed, and we've said it so many times. It's actually now reaching its decline cycle.
Yeah.
So opportunities for real wealth creation is harder in the West. So, but Africa has opened up a new pathway. So definitely, why not take advantage of the opportunity? So for me, these are the two main reasons why I think it's important that we start adopting a wealth mindset. And even finally, investment in Africa is actually about self-defense, because we always say investment is development, but development is broad. It can go in any direction. If we want to protect Africa, make sure the Africa that develops is an Africa shaped by Africans, then we need to become major asset owners on the continent.
Absolutely.
So that is also, it's about strategic reasons. And even at the national level, we live in a world where wars are fought by economics. This Iran
war,
war,
US Israel.
Yeah.
War.
It's people think it's actually a war like, oh, ideology. No, it's a financial war going on.
Yeah.
Economics is the new form of warfare. So to protect the sovereignty of where we are from, we are in Ghana, we are Ghanaians. To protect our sovereignty, we need to be wealthy. It's not a choice. It's actually a geopolitical strategy.
Yeah, definitely. Africa needs its children to look at the continent in so many spheres, like you're saying, defense, development, progress. All of that is to do with economics, and all of that is to do with business and investments at the end of the day. And if we don't invest in it, we can't shape it. And if we don't shape it, it will be shaped for us in different ways. That would not be beneficial to us. But like you say, importantly, why Africa is at a point where it is going to make money. People who invest here are going to make money. Why not us? As simple as that. The previous eras of growth, industrialization, and all of that,
We didn't have access to
we
it.
completely missed out. Although we were still part of the backbone that built it. But we still completely missed out on all of that. So this is the time for us to also think more strategically, but also more in defending the Africa that we want to stand. And so we
Just
need
to add as well, it's very important we start thinking with a world creation mindset because of where the world is going. I think we've had this conversation a few times, but we don't realize the concept of the middle class is quite a new phenomenon, and it's always a temporary process. So when you study economic cycles and you study throughout the ages, there's always a small period where the middle class expands, but then it contracts. But most of the time, we live in pyramid societies. We have since ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
The forms of types of structures evolve or whatever, but fundamentally, society has been structured as a pyramid. And we are witnessing the closing up of the middle class.
Yeah.
So in the future, we are entering a neo-feudal era. In this era, it's not about whether your family were landowners. It's about the business assets and the portfolio that is being passed down to you, because it's going to be extremely difficult to maintain what in our time in the future, what we would deem a middle class standard lifestyle purely from like working.
Yeah.
You see, so we are moving into a future where all of us have to decide which side of the fence we're going to fall under. And these next 10 to 15, max 20 years, how we all decide to make our financial decisions are going to not just be critical for us, but for our future generations.
Yeah.
Because the world we are entering in, there's going to be no middle class. It's rich, poor, asset owners, non-asset owners. It's that simple. Whether we want to accept it or not, that's where the world is going. Historically speaking, the middle class is a new concept, and it only exists for a temporary period. But we are going into neo-feudalism. So it's not enough to tell your kid to go and study, get a good job or whatever, because in the future, first of all, we're already seeing how human capital is being depreciated.
Yes.
So in the future, there will be a middle class, but it will be very tiny, and it will be extremely highly skilled people or high-level executives. That's the middle class. In the past, it was the merchant class. You see, that's the world we are entering into. So if you are not building a portfolio now, if you're not thinking about building wealth now, then you are choosing to basically be part of the peasantry, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Because in society, there were the nobles and the peasants. That's it.
Yeah.
And in our modern times, we don't have nobles and peasants, but we have the working classes and we have asset owners.
Yeah.
And that's the world we're going to. Are you in the working class or asset owners? But the working class now, modern day, is basically peasantry.
Yeah.
So that is why it's a crucial thing to seriously start thinking about it, because actually that's where the world is going. We are entering a neo-feudal era.
Yeah.
But we all right now, because again, wealth creation is not about where you're starting. It's about following principles and going along the process. We all have an opportunity, and we can all leverage Africa. Us diasporans and even
And local
Africans can
as one.
can smartly position ourselves
Yeah.
where we are on the right side of the fence.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want us to focus on discussing the opportunities available to diasporans to achieve this financial freedom we are talking about in Africa. Why are we saying Africa provides a great opportunity to achieve financial freedom? So I want us to look at that in the following context, as in the following factors. The first one being the continent being having developing economies.
Yeah, so the fact that the African region, the continent, is primarily made up of developing economies is a major opportunity to achieve financial freedom, because all of wealth is created in investing. It's all timing. Most of the time, the unsophisticated investors, they're the ones who join a party when it's late. But the sophisticated investors, that's when they cash out.
Yeah.
Because Africa is developing, this is the time period to invest in Africa, because 10 to 15 to 20 years from now, the assets would be too expensive and the value would have already been priced in. So the real gains are going to be made in those that are taking positions now, getting exposure to the types of companies that are going to be the large scale enterprises.
Yeah.
It is better to invest in Facebook when Facebook started than now in Facebook, because a lot of Facebook's wealth has already. So from an economic standpoint, the region, this is the time to plant some type of flag. And it's actually also the time when it's the most affordable.
Yeah.
If you look at Africa's financial markets, you can buy really, like you can buy a lot of shares in very good companies like MTN for 2 cedis, 3 cedis.
Yeah.
You think that's going to be the same 15 years from now?
No.
So imagine you invested 50,000 into just the GSE, the Ghanaian Stock Exchange. Do you know how much of a market cap you will have? But 15 years from now, your 50,000 can't purchase that many shares. So investing and timing is extremely important. And the fact that Africa hasn't developed yet means that if you want to really build wealth here, now is the time.
Yeah.
And that's the opportunity. Again, this opportunity is not available in the West anymore, because the West has mature markets.
Yeah.
So that's why financial freedom has, the opportunity for us to achieve financial freedom has opened up.
Yeah. And even in just business ownership, a lot of the West, when they say a business is making, say, 5%, 10% annual profits, it's like, whoa, that's that's really good, really good. And here you have businesses making 20, 30, most around 30, 40. And that is because they are developing economies.
I'm glad you said that, because that is the key thing as well. It's not just timing, but it's the fact that the returns are way higher than in the West, because of the fact that it's a developing economy.
Yeah.
Because naturally it's riskier, so it offers a lot more returns. The West is pretty safe, stable. You can invest there, but you're not going to build wealth in the West.
No. And the other thing too here is, as developing economies, there are a lot of challenges. There are a lot of problems that need
solutions too. So again, I'm glad you actually even highlighted that as well. Basically, Africa is looking for, I always say, Africa is looking for our titans of industry, and the gap is just wide there.
Yeah.
If you want to be a titan of transportation, oil, whatever, gas, energy,
agri,
real estate, like the market is open and is desperate for pioneers, for tycoons, titans. And this is what wealth is built on, this long-standing wealth. You see, where did Henry Ford come from? Where did Carnegie come from? Where did Vanderbilt? It was around this contextual time period in their history. This is the time period we are for our people in Africa.
For the continent. Okay, so the other one to look at is unfair advantages that diasporans do have over locals when they come to invest here.
Yeah, so a reason why this increases the opportunity for us diasporans to leverage Africa in a way where we can achieve financial freedom for ourselves is because our unfair advantages exist in 3 key areas. On a basic level, we underestimate the value of just our exposure to developed economies.
Right.
Our exposure allows us to be able to see what works and contextualizing it within an African context and seeing these are the problems. I'm exposed to solutions that I take for granted. Can I implant one of these solutions, tweak it within an African context and solve a problem in Africa? And that is the foundation of my wealth creation.
Yeah.
You see, that's where that is just our exposure. We have an advantage that locals don't have, because locals by default of being raised here have closed thinking, because it's like they're in a box.
It's the environment that they've been exposed to.
So it's a lot more difficult to ask basic questions because they are in the system. But from a diasporan, we have the unique insight to be able to question things like, but why did they do it like that? They can, you see, things that to us would think will be like straightforward. It's not straightforward here. So we underestimate just how exposure gives you such a great advantage. You see, me, myself personally, I can see it for myself. You see, so if you want to leverage Africa, because we're diasporans, just by being exposed, we already are familiar with a lot of the solutions. A lot of the time, the trick is how do you tweak it to fit an African context?
Yes.
Another reason why our unfair advantage gives us an opportunity to achieve financial freedom here is because of our human capital. It leads into the same things that we have the type of knowledge and skills that Africa needs.
Yeah.
And in business, you are solving problems. And we know Africa has a massive brain drain and human capital flight problem. So that unfair advantage, the fact that we've been trained relatively to way higher levels compared to what locals here are, means that we're in a position to take advantage of that from a competitive standpoint. And then finally, our capital stretches here, at least for now, still.
Yeah.
You see, again, this is where the timing thing links into, because I don't think people realize that going forward, we are not always going to have this luxury of being able to convert our dollars, pounds, and euros, and it's here as big money.
Yeah.
That whole thing, the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to see that gap closing. But as it stands now, we can raise the capital at an individual and a collective level to tap into some of the biggest and best business and investment opportunities here in a way that locals can't, but in a way that we won't have access to in the West.
Right.
How many did they knock on your door and tell you that you can invest in Facebook when they started? We are not privy.
I wish they had.
We're not privy to these things because it's a closed world.
Yes.
And we are already minorities with facing institutional barriers. But here we're forming relationships with innovation hubs, accelerators.
Yeah.
Who are literally developing the next generation of startups and companies doing extraordinary things. And as a diasporan, you can have access to them now.
Yeah.
With 10,000, 20,000, that can get you access into an Africa's version of Facebook.
Yeah.
Or the companies that are really going to drive this development push that we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so that's a big advantage.
Yeah.
That's a big advantage, you see.
Yeah. I think agree with all that you've said. Just the eye opener of what we've been privy to. And then you come here and you get to know the environment and the ground. And then you realize that all those things that was taken for granted over there as a must, and it just happens and it works, here is non-existent. So how then do you use whatever you can for that opportunity? But I have to stress that sometimes what is an advantage can be a disadvantage. So that's where we need to be careful, because sometimes some of us can have an attitude of we know it all because we have seen so much. But we have to remind ourselves that Africa is not where we are coming from. So things don't translate that way. And
I like that you said that, because that's the key thing is leveraging the West, what we can take from it. But the key thing, which I think is what you're getting at, is it still has to be reconstrued within an African context. Even like us, with the work we do, trying to create investment products and things like that. In the West, a lot of the things that we have to put in place to make like the investors community work, in the West you don't, because there's structures to protect certain things. So you can just set up your investment fund and you don't now have to build an entire technology platform to support, because investors can put all that kind of thing. So at every level, you definitely can't just take an idea and transport it. It has to be processed and restructured and all sorts within an African setting and
environment, especially because sometimes we come and we see them doing things a certain way and we think, how inefficient is that? Oh, that doesn't look, it can't just be done like that. And then maybe you go and straight import that thing and realize that it doesn't work. And it's been unfortunate, because I think some of the local practices that have been good for us are now extinct, because people just thought, no, this is not this. There are modern ways of doing stuff. And then we stop and later realize that actually that was the most effective. Maybe we just needed to think about it differently and sort of innovate it. So it is about those ideas that you have. Now try and look here, see what happens on the ground. What do they use? And then see why they've been using what they've been using, and find what are the real issues before you migrate something. So how do I migrate it? Or even do I migrate it? Or do I just take sections of it and then fuse with what we have here? And the other thing I'll say is being humble enough to always remember you don't know it all. As a diasporan, we're saying that you have
humility. You either be humbled or you should just humble yourself.
Yes.
And if Ghana humbles you, it is very severe. Humility
is important, and appreciating locals and the knowledge they have and using that effectively. So don't come in thinking I have all the solutions, I know it all. And maybe sometimes you think, oh, yes, I'm listening to them, but still, no, my way is better. Do really calm yourself down, humble yourself, and listen, and try to think about it before you jump in with what you have and invest so much money and then realize it's not going to work. So the other thing I want us to discuss is the high investment returns compared to the West, which I think we've already done. But do you have more to say about the high investment returns?
Yeah, I mean, this is important because we're speaking about financial freedom and we're saying that it's accessible to all of us.
Yeah.
But there are principles to follow and there's a process you have to put yourself on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Financial freedom might be challenging depending on what stage of your life you're in, because the process, time is a factor.
Yeah.
Realistically, you shouldn't be, especially if you don't want to create an investment portfolio that is very high risk. You know, you're more of a low to medium risk type person, then it means that you need to be able to give yourself
More time.
But also it helps if your investment returns are high enough that the time frame is also it works.
It can, yes. Yeah.
You see, because it can shorten the time frame you need to hit your number.
Mm-hmm.
That is, and Africa, because it offers significantly higher returns,
Yeah.
it means that your time frame to achieve financial freedom, if you compare to making almost similar, okay, let's use the financial markets. You would be able to achieve financial freedom. Let's assume there's the US S&P and then there's the GSE and their historical performance.
Yeah.
In the S&P, historically, it's like 8 to 11%.
Yeah.
Ghana, historically, is like 30%,
Okay.
20, 30, 40, around that.
Yeah.
So mathematically speaking, it would take you longer investing in the US financial markets
Yeah.
to reach your number
Your magic number.
than investing in Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the reason why it's actually very important, why it's such a good opportunity, because it actually shortens the time period you need to achieve financial freedom. But in the West, it will take a lot longer.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah.
So something that may take 10 years in the West to reach your portfolio to mature to the point where passive income is doing that, it might take 10 years in the West. Here, you could reduce that to 5 years because the return and the compounded effect is significantly greater.
In your favor. The other thing is the lower barriers to assessing investment opportunities in developing economies, in African developing economies.
Yeah, so it's like what I was saying with Facebook is that right now you can get access to Africa's Facebooks, Amazons, Teslas, whatever, because Africa has a rich entrepreneurial development that has started to take place. And, you know, we spoke in previous episodes about how traditionally wealth has been generated on a continent through corruption and the state. But one of the positive developments over the past sort of 10 years is that new wealth is being created from people genuinely doing great entrepreneurial stuff. That's why in Africa, we have even unicorns. That's businesses worth valued over $1 billion. We have a few of those on the continent. You see, that's why we are seeing interest from various foreign investors, Silicon Valley coming into Africa, all that kind of thing. But you, the normal person, you, a normal diasporan, you don't have access to investment opportunities in the West as easy as you'd be able to here in Ghana. Because here in Ghana, you're a high net worth investor. You can be an angel investor here because your even $10,000 here can go a long way. But what is 10,000 going to do in the US? What company is looking for an angel investor for just 10,000? In the West, angel investing, it means you're investing about 50 to 100K. That's what makes you an angel investor. So it tends to only be accessible to very successful entrepreneurs with money that they just want to. But you as a diasporan, if you have 10,000, you can invest in the agribusiness now that is seeking growth financing, because here in Ghana, that's 100,000 cities. So your access to opportunities that will help you build wealth and achieve financial freedom is readily available. Like, people are starving for cash here. There's a 50-40 billion financing gap. You see, and here you are the high net worth investor. You are the potential angel. In the West, you're just a regular person. So you can't even get into the game in the West. Here, the game is asking you to be a player.
And the little you have goes a long way in giving you that asset ownership and you starting. So the other thing is there are a lot of organizations supporting diasporans looking to invest in on the continent. And us TG Africa are one of them. So I want us to discuss the existence of support services that organizations like TG Africa have that can help facilitate investments for the diaspora.
Yeah, so this is the big one, is that in the past, their capacity to practically invest in Africa, the barriers were very high. So the opportunity to invest was really still theoretical, because at the government level, they don't really have a structure to specifically help facilitate. Like, they can give you advice and whatever, but it doesn't mean they facilitate your investment for you or can support you. And there's obviously the geographical barriers, all sorts, access to information, all that. So for a long period of time, even for a lot of us that may be considering and already thinking about wanting to do business or invest in Africa, practically speaking, for a while, it's almost impossible. But with the emergence of, for example, TG Africa as an organization, where our primary focus is helping diasporans engage with Africa on a business and investment level, and playing that facilitatory role means that the practical capacity to actually invest in Africa, and there's organizations, boots on the ground, diaspora-led organizations that can actually help facilitate your investments for you. Because one of the things we've been working on is building the right kind of relationships, forming the right kind of strategic partners, and actually building an investment ecosystem that we can plug diasporans in. Like I said, being an investor, there's no one size fits all. I'm sure in future episodes, we'll go deeper into how we all understand our profiles. But fundamentally, our work here has been about being able to be there to support any diasporan that wants to invest. They can already know what they want, or they may not know what they want. But the idea is that there is a structure, there's an organization here that can actually help facilitate that. If you want to buy businesses, if you want to invest in the financial markets, if you want to access real estate, you see, if you want to invest in early stage ventures, there's actually a support structure. At least that is what we are continuously focused on trying to do better and better.
Yeah.
So that we diasporans have practical ways to access these opportunities, because for a long period of time, it doesn't really exist. And there is a lot of a call about diasporans returning, investing, but there's still a long way to go to building that architecture, that structure to facilitate this. And that is the work of TG Africa as an organization. But the opportunities that at least we exist, and some like us exist too.
Yeah.
So it means that it's not just a theoretical thing. Like, if you are serious about financial freedom, there's people that can help you.
Yeah. And we always say, investing in developing economies, the risks are high. But especially if you're not looking to be staying on the continent and be doing your investments, it is advisable to work with an organization, because there's a lot of stuff going on. And like I keep saying, there's a lot of stories about scamming, people have lost money and all of that. But it is not the biggest of. People have also made money. It's not coming out as much. People have made a lot of money investing on the continent. So what we advise is get in touch with organizations like ourselves to protect what it is you're doing, but also to get a first-hand information of real legitimate organizations that you are going to invest in, real legitimate products.
Yeah, I mean, even in the West, there's a whole investment industry that supports people to invest, because what is the fact? Most people are what are referred to as amateur investors.
Yeah.
Which basically means that the average person's level of financial literacy is quite low, and also they don't really know how to manage and invest. It's its own competency. So even being able to, yes, there's an opportunity, for example, to buy a business, but there's a whole process of how you even vet it to make sure you should buy it or not buy it.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand that,
value for money.
yes, if you don't understand that, then you don't know if you are getting a good deal or not, even if you should buy it.
Yeah.
But working through an organization like TG Africa is that we can actually help you evaluate that.
Yes.
Because that's the point. As an organization, we have the competencies to do that.
Yeah.
So that you, as long as you know that that's what you want to do, there's a team and a support to help you do it.
Yeah.
Because most of us are not in a position to be investing purely directly on our own. Outside of scamming and all of that, is that
there's not enough knowledge.
You're not a sophisticated investor.
Yeah.
There's a reason why there are so many investment funds in the world, passive funds in the world, because most people are not poised to be, they're not professional investors, they are not sophisticated investors where they can evaluate a stock performance, look at a PE ratio and all that, and actually handpick. So the whole investment industry, with the emergence of mutual funds, exchange traded funds, ETFs, it's to make it as simple and easy to invest. Because realistically speaking, at the highest and even at the highest level, they outsource the management of their investment because there's a lot of time, energy, effort that goes into it. So yes, I will never try and sell people dreams. There is a real opportunity to achieve financial freedom in Africa and build wealth for yourself. But if you really want to do it properly, you're going to need the support of an organization. The context is not like the West. And regardless, across the world, most people get support when they are thinking about how they manage their money and invest, because it's its own competency as well. But it's more riskier and challenging in this terrain. We even realize just how important that the organizations that are going to support diasporans with investing in business has to be diaspora-led and diaspora-oriented, because one of the problems is that the local organizations here on their own are not developed and mature enough that it's not the same standard of quality of service that you would get living in a developed world. You see, it's not the same quality of service because the business culture in developing economies is not the same as a business culture. So just that alone means that we can't actually just depend on a local, we have to make it for ourselves, and that is the work we're trying to do here at TG Africa. And it's a continuous learning thing. But the idea is that we without the support of an organization that has the right relationships, you can't, no matter what level of investor you are, from sophisticated to amateur, you're increasing the risk that you will be making terrible decisions. Because yes, the opportunity is great, but the challenge in the environment is just as great. That's why the existence of organizations like this is actually important. Even on basic levels. That is why diasporans have set up businesses helping people just with moving back. Getting a simple thing like Ghana card. I mean, one of the clients where we were helping with is simply setting up their business, like registering it. And then
it's not that straightforward.
It's not even just registering your business. It's not so without an organization like us helping facilitating that for this said individual, just the simple because on surface, yes, there is the registering business, there's the, what do they call them?
Registrar of companies.
So on the surface, it's there, just like in the UK, there's company house there. Technically, there's a form, fill it out, post it, whatever, boom, then it should magically, it doesn't work like that here, you see. So when it comes to business and investing on a continent, it's definitely something that without strong diaspora-led organizations is very, very challenging.
It is very challenging.
Look at how much money, you have lost with the farm and the journey you have gone through. Because you did it direct. You see, imagine how much you would have saved. So, and that's a key thing, is that our work comes from the fact that we are here. So a lot of the time, our advice, support, and guidance is coming from expensive mistakes we are making and other diasporans are making. And so we can protect other people from not making that mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't know, do you have anything more to say in terms of financial freedom to end the session?
Yeah, I mean, the key things I want people to take away is that financial freedom and the ability to achieve financial freedom is available to all of us diasporans, especially by leveraging Africa. It's more about us deciding to follow the principles and the discipline. Also, it's very important that we start actually identifying ourselves with wealth and not having this uncomfortable association with it.
Yeah.
And we definitely should also be aware that if we are serious about achieving financial freedom, Africa very much offers that opportunity to do so for a number of reasons. So it's really, it's the opportunity is there. It's whether you want to take it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. Like you said, financial freedom looks different to everybody, but we can all attain it. And my last thing will be the earlier you start, the better.
Yes, that's the main thing. The earlier you start, the better.
And a lot of it too can be done from wherever you are, not necessarily you being located within the continent, but it's just investing.
Yes. Okay, so that's the final thing is I want people to understand is that at least as an organization, what we're trying to help people do is to facilitate their investments across the continent. We're not saying people have to uproot their lives. It's two different things.
Yes. Yeah.
You see, what we're trying to do is to not only facilitate people's investments, help them manage it remotely and create the mechanisms for them to monitor their investments. So it's a holistic structure of support.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to invest, but it's another thing to manage that investment and have that oversight of it.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it's not practical for them to uproot their lives to no. But what we are saying is that with the emergence of organizations like ours, you can leverage Africa. But leveraging Africa and investing in Africa and contributing to Africa does not mean you have to transform your life.
No.
It's about you changing your attitude towards Africa vis-a-vis the West and deciding to make certain financial choices about how you manage your money and what your long-term goals are.
Yeah.
And all of this can be done in the comfort of where you are.
Yeah.
Because organizations like us have built in the structures to facilitate this. Because very quickly we realize that if we keep telling people to come here, it's not look how hard it is for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see, so yes, some of us, yes, you should really come here. But we are talking about investing.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, we're talking about investing.
Yes.
You see, when you invest in the stock market in the US, you don't go and knock on Ford's door and you don't need to. So what we're saying is that investing within the African context is not about you uprooting your life.
Yeah.
It's about making smart financial decisions and finding the right organization that can support you with your portfolio building and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's also investing in businesses which we can support and oversee for you, that you don't have to necessarily leave your lifestyle, leave your work, you don't have to uproot your family. Wherever you feel you want to invest your money or whatever, whether the financial markets or businesses, we can support you do that from the comfort of wherever you are. So that's it. And you've heard everything we've said. So financial freedom is certainly attainable. So thanks very much to AG for today's discussion. And many thanks to you, our cherished viewers and listeners, for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button now if you've not already done so. And do like and share to amplify our voices to create the positive change that we need. And don't forget to grab yourself a copy of our book, The Great Return, which is on Amazon in all forms. And if you're doing business or thinking of doing business or investing in Ghana or the rest of Africa, then we can help. Get in touch via our website, tgrafrica.com, and book a consultation to discuss all forms of collaborations and partnerships, both with us and with others, and also for business and investment advice and guidance. And last but not the least, to check out all the other great stuff that we're doing and how you can get involved. See you in the next episode.